We're going to look at how to make a faux fur background for your web page. Here is one, and you can do this any color. This one is pink with black, and then on my website currently I have the yellow with black background. And just to show you something really quick, what we're going to do is something slightly different. So when we make this, we're going to stay away from the edges, so that if you have a repeating picture, so if your picture repeats instead of just covers the entire background, then you don't have to worry about little instances where the lines of the pattern around the edge are going to show up where the picture repeats. And I have some I worked with it a bit so that you wouldn't see that a whole lot, but you can still kind of see that issue sort of here where the photo repeats. So anyway, this time around we're going to do something a little bit different, so which is staying away from the edges. So we're going to go to File, New, and this is in Photoshop. And once the new document opens up, we want our resolution to be 100 is pretty good resolution. We're going to go to width. We're going to make that 1500, and then height, let's make that about 1200, and let's go ahead and hit create. Okay, so we can zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're working with a little bit more easily. And the first thing that we want to set is the background. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to make, this is the rectangle tool. I'm going to make a rectangle that just goes around the whole back, and this is going to be where you set your color. We're going to double click on rectangle where it says rectangle, and then we're going to choose from this color menu that comes up. So pick a color that you like. So if you wanted to go to yellow or something like that, or orange or whatever. So again, I'm going to do the pink, and I want kind of like a hot pink. I'm going to move into but something that's lighter, because I tend to notice that it darkens up a little bit when I actually get it on to the website. So I want to keep it a little bit light. So I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to click OK. Once you've got your color, then we're going to come to Paintbrush. And we're going to come up here and set our paintbrush size. So usually probably about maybe about 68, 70 points is where we want to be. And we can use just the regular rounded paintbrush. We don't need any really special effects, although if you wanted to go back and try with other effects once you kind of get better at this, you can definitely do that. Okay, so it's going to ask us, do we want to rasterize this shape? Yes, we do. So we can start working with that. And that what we want to do is start putting in our stripe, but what we want to, or our stripes, but what we want to do is make sure that those are a specific color. So for that color, we're going to go back to swatches, and we're going to choose the color that we want to work with. I'm going to choose black here, and I'm going to start. If you don't see swatches, by the way, you can go up to Window, and then from the pull-down menu, you can choose swatches. I'm just going to start. These don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be super pretty, because we're going to work with them a little bit more. But just kind of start putting in lines like you would see in a fur pattern or faux fur pattern. And again, I'm going to avoid going all the way out to the edge, so that if this image is repeated in the background, it's not really going to have any issues around the edges. So you don't have to be super perfect as far as where you put your lines. You don't also have to be perfect with how you draw them either, because you'll be able to come back and fix them in a minute, as you'll see. And so just kind of get that basic pattern down. So you want to have some lines that are a little bit longer. Sometimes you'll see sort of these little sort of blobs, And then you'll see some lines that get a little bit thicker. Try to have sort of an overall pattern though, so I am going kind of out to the side on both sides. And there's that. There's one that's going to start here, and then I'm going to have this kind of come over here, make that a bit thicker. That's going to go down there. And here's this guy. Here's one that's going to come in and go up at the top. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of look for areas like this where it's a little bit rough. And I'm going to sort of go back and kind of go over those edges and just kind of smooth them out a little bit. So the nice thing about fur is you don't have to be super perfect, because there's no exact fur pattern out there. Just has to kind of say, give a sense of fur when people are looking at it. And so if you have enough of those kind of lines and shapes, and if you do something like that, you can always go edit, undo, and then get rid of that. I'm just going to make a little line here. It's kind of hard again, not getting right up to the edge. Make a little line, blobby line there. One there. Ooh, I'm liking how this is looking. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to work on that a little bit. Okay. I'm going to just make that a little bit thicker. I'm going to make that a little bit thicker. Okay, so once you have the basic of what you want, then we're going to go in and make it a little bit brighter. Like I said, it does get a little bit darker a lot of times when you put it on a screen. So I'm going to go into filter, and I'm going to go to stylize. No, not stylize. I'm going to go to, I'm so trouble remembering what this is under. Okay, I'm going to go to render, and then I'm going to go to lighting effects. So under lighting effects, you're going to have 3 different options. You'll have point, spot, point, spot, and infinite. We want the spot. And that is probably going to be smaller than what you're looking at right now. So as you can see, the bigger it gets, the more light coverage you're going to get. So you could kind of, again, leave the edges a little bit darker. But again, if you had the repeating picture in the background instead of just a whole picture, you'd get kind of those dark edges showing up over and over again in the background. So we want the whole thing to kind of be a little bit brighter. So we're just going to click and drag to make this bigger. Then I'm going to put a little bit of gloss on it. So I'm just going to kind of up that. I'm going to kind of up the metallic a little bit. There's no set number. You can just kind of play around with this and see how it looks. Ambience. I'm going to go a little bit higher with that, and then I'm going to click OK. So once I have what I want there, next I'm going to go into filter, and I'm going to go to distort and twirl. And this is kind of fun. If you zoom out, you can see your whole pattern. And we don't want to twirl it a whole lot, but just a little bit, because obviously the pattern would be kind of naturally twirled a bit on an animal's body, right? But if we go like super crazy, which you could, but if you go super crazy, you kind of lose that fur effect. So we don't want to do too much. So we're just going to do about there. Then we can click OK. And that looks pretty cool. And that also kind of helps with some of the maybe bumpy edges that you might have. But I'm also, as you can see, I'm just going back with my paintbrush a little bit, going over some of the parts that I still don't quite like. And then you might get some happy accidents too when you're using the paintbrush, and so you get an effect you didn't quite intend, but it looks kind of cool. So you just leave it. So, okay, and I'm going to put another one of these up here too while I'm doing this. Now we're going to go back to, yeah, I'm going to put this here. All right, so now we're going to go back to filter again, and we're going to go to stylize and wind. And we're just going to do a little bit here. Again, you can kind of zoom out. But we do want to choose wind, and you can choose from the right or from the left. It really doesn't matter. But here I'm going to do from the right. And this is just going to be like a little subtle effect. So I'm going to click OK. But you can see it gives it that more of a fur feeling, right? Okay, so if you go back and you did that again, so filter, stylize, wind, it would increase the effect. So if you decide you like it with even more on there, you could use the additional, or if you wanted to just do the one shot of it, you could always go to edit and undo. And I think I like that just one. Okay, so there's our fur pattern, and then basically what you can do is now just kind of save it, give it a name. And I like to save it as a JPEG. And I'm going to click save. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm also going to go back over here. I'm going to go to File, Export, and Save for the web. Because I have some settings here that will actually let me save it in a lower version, or as low as possible version. So I'm just going to click save. So that takes a little bit less time to download when people are opening up their site, which is always a good thing. So I'm just going to save this again. Fur pattern pink. I think that was the same name. If not a super huge big deal there. I'm going to click desktop, save it, and there we go. Okay, and then you would upload it. So you can sort of imagine how that would look on the background. Pretty cool. So I hope you like this, and if you did, give it a like and follow me. And also I'd love to see what you create. All right, thanks for watching.